For more on former President Trump's campaign following the debate, let's bring in Trump campaign National Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Karoline, thanks for being here.
Great to see you, Jackie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So the former president has said that he might not debate Vice President Harris again, but as you just saw, she's been out on the campaign trail, sort of ribbing him for what he left unsaid in the debate, including on the details of his health care plan. Wouldn't it benefit Trump to redeem himself? And he could agree to a Fox debate and box her in.
Well, as you know, earlier in the campaign cycle, President Trump did agree to a Fox debate with Kamala Harris, and she didn't show up. It turned into a town hall in Pennsylvania with Sean Hannity, which was great because President Trump was able to take questions directly from voters. And that's the most important audience that matters in this election. And according to voters, President Trump won Tuesday night's debate. Reuters had a poll showing 6 in 10 undecided voters are leaning towards President Trump. The New York Times even had a headline that said that while the mainstream media may say Kamala did a better job, undecided voters disagree. They believe that President Trump showed strength and he has a real plan on the issues that matter to them, such as the economy, the wide open border, health care, for instance, and the wars that have broken out over this world under Kamala Harris's leadership. And I think President Trump's closing argument at the debate, nailing Kamala Harris and saying, if you have all of these new policies, why haven't you implemented them over the past 4 years? Voters know she is wholly responsible for the problems they are facing and feeling, and President Trump is the only candidate in this race who can fix them.
To your point about that, the voters do want to hear about his plans. His closing argument got, 17.6 million views on TikTok the day after the debate. It is now up to 24.6 million. Harris has got 4.7 million, but we still have not heard him articulate the specifics on the health care plan. And, instead, our social media feeds have been inundated with remixes of his comments about, this fringe claim that Haitian immigrants are eating pets in Ohio. That was evidently brought to his attention by this figure, Laura Loomer, who has promoted this theory. He's been hanging around with her. How close is Trump to Laura Loomer, and why is he bringing her around with him?
Well, as President Trump said yesterday, this individual does not work for the campaign. She's simply a supporter of the president, and he doesn't agree with everything she said. He doesn't agree with everything that all of his supporters said. He is building a big tent movement, being supported by people like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. And while they don't all agree on everything, they agree on the most important thing, and that is ensuring Kamala Harris cannot be elected as president of the United States, considering she is a radical liberal. And I'm glad you brought up healthcare, Jackie, because I'd love your audience to know where Kamala Harris stands on that issue. She supports a socialist takeover of our healthcare system, supporting Bernie Sanders' socialist Medicare for all, which would cost taxpayers $32 trillion. Kamala Harris also wants to give amnesty to the nearly 20 million illegal people that she's allowed into this country, which will absolutely devastate and crumble our healthcare system. And she wants to make taxpayers fund transgender surgeries for illegal immigrants. Those are radical positions. She does not deserve to be elected president of the United States. The American people will make that clear on November 5th.
We did hear the former president try to distance himself from Laura Loomer, but he didn't denounce any specific statements that she's made. She once called 9/11 an inside job. He brought her to a 9/11 remembrance ceremony. She said that if Harris wins the election, the White House will smell like curry. That's a racist joke about Harris's Indian heritage. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. I mean, does he denounce those statements specifically?
President Trump denounced those statements yesterday when he said he does not agree with all of the comments that this individual has made. President Trump went to the 9/11 ceremony to honor those lives that have been that were taken from us on that fateful day, to honor their families. He showed up to a fire station in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and was greeted with enormous applause, by the way, by the family members of those firefighters who were lost on 9/11, while Kamala Harris was not given the same reception. And so, again, Americans understand where President Trump stands on the issues. They know that he is the best candidate in this election. And I think it's pitiful that the media is constantly asking questions like this of President Trump, but not asking Kamala Harris if she agrees with all the statements made by her supporters, like maybe Vladimir Putin, who recently endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Does she agree with him? Does Kamala Harris agree with her own running mate, Tim Walz, putting tampons in women's bathrooms in public schools? She needs to be asked those questions as well if President Trump is going to be held to this ridiculous standard.
Well, if it's a ridiculous standard, I mean, there are members of the Republican Party who have voiced a lot of concern about her presence on the president's campaign. From Republican Senators Lindsey Graham, Tom Tillis, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, should we expect then, given what you just told me, that we won't be seeing any more of Laura Loomer on the campaign trail with President Trump?
Look, as I said repeatedly now, President Trump does not agree with all of the statements that were made by this individual. President Trump has been building the most diverse political movement that this country has ever seen. He has unified the Republican Party. And the great thing about Republicans, Jackie, is that we can share when we disagree with one another, but we still understand the bigger picture and that we cannot afford to have Kamala Harris be president of the United States. Unlike the Democrats who try to censor and silence anyone who disagrees with them, as evidenced by big tech censorship of President Trump, and also as evidenced by their lawsuits against RFK Jr. to try to keep him off of the ballot, and their attempts to keep President Trump off of the ballot by waging political lawfare against him. So while we don't agree with everything that everyone says all of the time, we understand that we have a country to save, and Kamala Harris is a dangerous liberal, and she should not be president of the United States.
Is that a no? That Laura Loomer won't be traveling?
I will leave it to President Trump, but as I have said to you, she is not a part of this campaign. She is not an official staffer. She is a supporter. And next time Ian Sams or one of Kamala Harris's surrogates are on this network, I hope you'll ask them if they agree with Kamala Harris, if Kamala Harris agrees with everything that all of her supporters has ever said.
We do pose those questions. I sit in the front row of the White House every day and ask questions like that, and we will continue to do so. Karoline Leavitt,
I hope so.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.